I'll take a motion, open today's working session meeting.
Motion.
Dan made a motion, Sherry.
Second?
Sherry second. All approved, Mr. DeRoss?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
Yes.
And Mr. Hession's a yes. I want to welcome everyone to today's working session of the Rockland Board of Sewer Commissioners. It's an in-person working session and an open public meeting. The public's welcome to attend, but unfortunately at these meetings, we're just trying to work through our backlog and no public comment input will be taken. We would love for you to mail in or email in your questions if you have any. We'll answer them at the next working session or at our next open meeting. In attendance today is Mr. DeRoss, Ms. Valley, and Ms. Lori Childs, and myself, Mr. Hession. With that, have you, ladies and gentlemen, read the minutes for the last working session?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Motion Dan,
Second?
second Sherry, all in favor, Mr. DeRoss?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
Yes.
And Mr. Hession's a yes. Unanimous. Next on the agenda was the Veolia project manager discussion. We'll put that back. And I want to jump in quickly to the EPA update. I received a call yesterday from Kevin Olson of Wright Pierce. This EPA has approved the September 1st submittal for that one with the CWMP order. So they'll be giving us an update on the an updated quote for the CWMP. We still have to discuss the submittal that was made by Mr. Clifford, Lapp, and Taylor, because I am taking exception to the due date in item 2. It's unrealistic. For those of you who are in the public that are not aware, this board did not see the submittal prior to it going in, nor did we see the quote for the I&I plan that went in. I am going to recommend the board pass that I&I plan because what I want to do is I spoke to Kevin Olson. We're going to roll it. If you remember my conversation last week, an I&I plan should be part of the CWMP. So we're going to roll that in to the CWMP. The CWMP should be ready by April. We're going to beat the submittal for it anyway for the EPA, so it'll be all in one condensed document. The question I have on that, on the submittal, was that on item, damn if I didn't bring it. Yes, I did. On item 2, where's it? Item 2, section D, they gave a March-April 2023 that the town will supplement this portion of the I&I plan with the awarding of construction bids to provide dates of construction expected to be completed. That is on the additional 150,000 gallons of I&I. The reason that is unrealistic is that we do not even have the bids for the 67,500 gallons of I&I yet, which are due shortly. So we're going to have to get that out to bid, get that in, and in all likelihood that work will not be starting until after the fact, after that date. So I'll be writing a letter to the EPA because it has to come from the Board of Commissioners with the sole authority to do that. Clifford will be CC'd as well as Mr. Lapp. I want to look at it, what's involved in it as far as going out to plans. The other problem I have with that is that if you'll see in section C1 is legal requirements for private property. That second 153,000 gallons, the bulk of that is on laterals. Laterals is the public's, is private property, and it's the homeowner's responsibility. I can't see this board forcing the homeowners to undertake that right now. At this time of year, with the economy the way it is, with the new tax hit on the school and other things. So I want to come up with a plan looking at what is realistic to go after out of that 153 after the 67,500. The 67,500 I proposed to them when we had our initial meeting on May 5th of 2022, And I was told all we had to do is put that in writing. That is in section 1 of the submittal. So I'm sure that they'll be more than happy to grant us that, because if not, we're biting off more than we can handle right now. So I'll be taking that under.
Before we write that letter, do we want to come up with a better plan?
Well, what I want to do, I'm not going to write the letter or even do anything with them until we get the bids in for the $67,500. This is the lovely Megan Kelly. You just set that up, Meg. What I want to do is we have to take care of this in a very structured format, because the EPA is not going to tolerate any trip-ups. Let's get rid of one elephant. That first elephant is the 67,500 gallons. Let's get a plan in place to get that. Once we capture that, or we have in place, we can then look at this.
Yes.
But until we get that 67,500 out, we have a moratorium in place, and we cannot bring in any income to the department. So I want to get that 67,000 wrapped up, so we know what we're doing, so we can start planning on income coming in.
Right.
We got plenty of time on this.
Right.
So the next big thing we got to worry about is the November 1st submittal, which I'll go into shortly. But like I said, I want to focus on getting that 67,500 first.
Yes.
This thing was thrown together in 2 hours, and I'll be going into greater detail tomorrow night's meeting on how this whole thing came to place. Because I am going to take strong exception to the Board of Selectmen tomorrow night. A lot of the things they said were innuendos and not accurate, and I'm laying everything out on the table for everyone to see. So we'll deal with that tomorrow night.
Right. One more question on this topic.
Shoot.
You're talking about rolling in that I&I control plan into this CWMP.
Right.
So there'll be a new document?
No. What it will be is the CWMP, if you remember, we talked to Veolia last week to how they're going to handle it. They're going to work with Weston Sampson. I'm not taking the contract away from them.
Oh, all right.
I don't want to change things like that radical. But what they're going to do is they'll coordinate it with Weston Sampson. It's like right PS, so it'll all be rolled into one document and meet all the requirements for the EPA submittal.
Okay.
So that we have to vote to approve that I&I contract for Weston Sampson.
Right.
So we'll do that tomorrow night.
So are we putting together another proposal for the EPA?
That's what I was waiting to hear from
confused.
Veolia, how they're gonna handle it. Because we asked them to step in on it.
Okay, so we may need to amend our submittal.
Right. Well, they're working on an amendment now for the EPA submittal. So,
Right, Pearson of CWMP.
yes, and so we're gonna be rolling that I&I plan into that. So everything should be covered with that.
Okay.
That's that on the order. As I said, the EPA did give our right PS approval on the CWMP submittal. So September's submittal is complete. They'll be calling, Veolia will be calling in, and we'll find the status on that shortly. While we're waiting for Veolia, I want to also remind people that in July we received a letter from Attorney Kenny, who in contact with the EPA said we are going to be fined. It's nothing to do with our submittals. That fine is because of our repeated flow violations. And that's what that is for. We have no idea what that fine will be. If I had to put a ballpark, I could say it'd be anywhere from 10 to 25,000, but don't quote me on that because I'm not sure at all on that. You have a copy of the I&I plan?
I do.
Oh, okay. I guess we're just waiting for Veolia. What I want to do is just go over the minutes of our last meeting with Veolia for anyone, but mostly for Lori's sake. We're looking at a project manager to come in. That project manager will be handling an oversight of all the different projects going on under one, and just coordinate, make sure we don't miss a beat on it. And their primary instruction is gonna be mandated, is gonna be to meet all the requirements of the EPA order. That is not anything different than our original contract with Veolia. All this is in there, engineering services, etc. As far as going out to bid on all the projects we have been going out to bid, they can do it. Although I'm not going to be giving them a blanket to do that, they'll bid on them like everyone else, sealed bids. But it's in there that they could help us manage this. Let's take advantage of it through this time. And I also want to, while we're doing it, keep our options open for a superintendent. And in this period, ascertain, is that position really required? I mean, if it's going to be cheaper to go with a project manager on an on-need basis, and when you look at the cost of a $100,000 salary plus a 38% overhead with benefits, et cetera, it might be a wash if not cheaper. But we'll do that. Yeah. What does that say, Sherry? Did that say
I was
pending?
waiting for the host to start the meeting.
I wonder if that's Rick. Okay, so let me just go over the minutes. This is just a meeting that held on August 31st at 1:30. It was in attendance between myself, John Oldley, Michael Burke, Hans Tannenblom, Rick Katosh, Paul Rodman, and John Ayotte of Veolia. Summary of the discussion is the town is under an administrative order and has an interest in assistance on 6 active projects that are attached. Those are the 6 that we know of. There may be more. Rick, who was the project manager of this facility, was not kept in the loop of anything that was going on. The digester piping, he knew nothing about where it was. Rick did not even see the administrative consent order. So he did not, even though he runs the facility, he's in charge of the flow, he never saw it. The sewer commission can ask Veolia, or Veolia can, to perform non-routine services under the current terms and conditions of our current service agreement and billed under a task order itemized per project. I told them I'd be writing herd on the costing and the hours and want a detail on that. The projects and sessions, we touched on some of the 6 projects with the understanding more thorough review and follow-up were going to be needed for this, should the commission select Veolia under the contract to look at them. Wright Pierce to the CWMP to stay with Wright Pierce. Veolia will provide oversight only on that review and coordinate with Kevin Olson of Wright Pierce. ACOM, who did the sewer system evaluation study, the SSES study. Veolia is just going to look at the oversight on the corrective actions list in that study for the 67,500 gallon reduction measures. And we have not seen, we had asked Dave for 5 bids on that. I don't know if those 5 bids went out.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Okay.
So as far as I'm concerned, with those bids are not out, I'm going to ask Veolia to pull together a bid spec to do the specs on the pipelining into the manhole sealing to get that underway. I'm sure they've had enough time. They can get that together to meet the deadline that was put in that and give us time to get sufficient bids out. My feeling is that some of the work can be done. When you look at pipelinings, that is all going to be predicated on flow. We're going to be historically coming into a high flow period now with the fall. So we can at least bang out the manholes. But just remember what the moratorium said and what the EPA said. Nothing can get added till that entire 67,500 gallons comes out. Only then can we start freeing up some capacity.
So we can start planning on fixing manholes.
Yeah, when the bids come in and we get a contractor,
Yeah.
there should be nothing prohibiting us from sealing manholes and start in on it. And, naturally, if we have a light winter, it needs, we can go after that pipelining. I'm not so sure on the pipeline. I think temperature plays an effect on how it cures. So I gotta do a little more research on that.
Okay, because I'd like to know if we can do that as well.
There's a guy over in Holbrook Not all, but Woodland needs to do that.
Yeah, I know, but we gotta
Yeah.
leave that up to, the
That
way I
goes
want
on
it,
The bid.
what, with Veolia picking the, right, if we have Veolia write the spec, right?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Under chapter 30 purchasing, it's gonna be over 10,000. I think this department should absolutely go out to bid on anything over $10,000. I mean, money's tight.
And the over 5,000 go out for bid.
I don't know what it is on
Yeah.
chapter 30, but I think, if it's 10,000 or under 10, when you get something under 10,000, it's usually an oops, we need it now. I think that's something the commissioners can approve, or project manager, go to Rick, who can call one of us. I mean, Rick has been running it, he knows, he's been here 20 years, and if he says he needs it, I think we'll need it. But under anything over 10,000, I think we should go out for multiple bids, sealed bids only, open in a public meeting.
Yes.
That's just my feeling.
Yeah, the regulation is 10 to 50,000, you have to solicit at least 3 price quotes.
Okay.
And if it's over 50, then you can either do an invitation for bid.
Invitation to
or
bid.
request for proposal.
Okay, that's cool. So ACOM, we have nothing on open with ACOM.
So this bid to create a bid, is that also what you were just alluding to with Veolia?
This bid is the one that came in, and
You're right.
I'm gonna give Lori a little background, because I think this would help her understand what transpired. In April, so make sure you get this accurate. Okay, in April, hi.
Hey.
Oh, they're on?
Oh,
Oh, how do we go?
join the meeting.
I just wanna make
Sorry.
sure.
Wasn't paying attention.
Good, you can sit in here if you want.
No, it's okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you get to be the face of.
Lori, if you wanna come on over here.
So you wanna come over and
Sure.
My wife says, they should complain.
Huh?
If I go on it, my wife will complain. She says you're not sitting right.
Here we go.
Oh.
After 40 years, I still hear it.
There's Rick.
Hi, Paul, how are you? Are we mute?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Rick? Yep. Paul, can you hear us?
Yep, I hear you just fine.
John, how about you?
Yes, thank you.
And you have a popular Mr. Burke, can you hear us?
Loud and clear.
Okay, guys, with us today, of Mr. DeRoss, Ms. Valley, and Ms. Lori Childs of the Board of Selectmen. We just gave an update on our minutes from last meeting. So you guys know that yesterday I heard that we got approved from the EPA for our September submittal. Before we get into the project manager's portion, I might as well keep winding on the EPA. Who will be heading up the November submittal? Will that be you, Paul?
John and I are still working through that. We'll be doing the actual report as far as the submittal, but we have started collaborating on what it entails.
Okay, you have my my timeline, if you will, which broke down the individual tasks on that requirement.
Correct, yes.
Okay, I'm not gonna tie you guys up tomorrow night with an update, but what if you could just throw a blurb together for me that I could read at tomorrow night's meeting, it'd be great. Here's what I'm going to pretty much insist on. At a very minimum, every 2 weeks, I'd like an update on where this submittal stands. The submittal is due, what, November 30th?
Yes.
Right, you want the 16 to take a cursory and try to look at it, correct?
No, I want it beforehand. They had suggested that we send it to council for the 16th. What I wanted to do is I want the board to look at it for approval first, then we'll send it to council for final review, for verbiage. They are not really, all they're looking is for the language. They won't be doing the technical, we'll be doing the technical. But let's shoot for, see, that's due the 30th. Why don't we say, give us when could you think you can get us a rough draft? I know some of it is gonna require November data, correct?
Right, no, I think there's a number of it's gonna require town input. The moratorium stuff, I mean, I think we should create a workshop pretty soon to iron out some of the deliverables and how that's gonna be formed.
Okay, you schedule it, anything that's on for the town on that is all sewer commission, the moratorium and all that other stuff. Just so you know where I stand on the moratorium, we're committed that we cannot do anything until we remove that 67.5. I do plan on modifying that moratorium around that so we can start getting income as soon as that 67's out. But when is the most opportune time for you to schedule a workshop?
This week, I think we need to get traction on this thing soon.
Okay,
So,
when would you like to meet? My time is your time.
I'll float around some days and time, either Thursday or Friday, and then we'll see what pencils in for everybody's schedule.
I would say, do you want to try to have something next week?
No, I'm thinking about this week, Thursday or Friday, to set up a workshop between someone from the town
Yep.
and Paul and I, and
Yeah.
then we can loop in optional if whether Mike wants to join in Rick, and then we can kind of see how we can go forward to meeting the deadline for the 16th or before November 16th.
Okay, it'll have to be Thursday if it's going to be a day this week.
Okay, let me look, I'll circle back with an email thread to you and Paul on what my availability is for this Thursday.
Okay, and the time is yours. You pick the time. Do you want to do it live or via Zoom?
No, Zoom. I'd rather, yeah. You mean in person?
Yeah, in person or Zoom. It's up to you.
Zoom, please.
Okay, no, Zoom it is. Once we agree on a date and time, I'll have you set up the Zoom and we'll take her from there.
Okay.
Laurie, feel free to set in for the town if you want.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying council's not needed at this time because it's all it is technical work. They're just gonna go over the legality verbiage at the end, so it's not like, heaven forbid, they think I'm cutting them out. What else do we need on that? Okay, that's the November submittal covered.
Are they still online?
Okay, wait a minute, November submittal we covered. That it on the November submittal? I think Rick should be definitely a part of that.
Oops, we lost him. Who hung up on us?
I heard something like that.
Yeah.
How old is that computer?
So the workshop is for all those items in the November submittal.
Right, now if we get together, it's a public meeting.
Mhm.
And I'd have to get that agenda out
Every
today,
day
which
I
we
get
don't have the
that
time
computer
to.
like this. Does that have-
No. Within the 48
And I
hours.
can't Friday, I've got a doctor's appointment, we wrapped up all day.
I got a couple of quacks I'm gonna see.
Would you mind if I just do it Thursday on my own, or would you rather be there?
No, that's fine.
We'll have to do it Monday if we can't. Want me to shoot for Monday? Because it'll have to be an open meeting.
Right. Yeah, I'd prefer to be there, but I think I agree with him that we need to get this rolling right away. So if he can do Monday, that's better. If not,
Okay.
do Thursday.
No, I would agree to get it going, because really, if you look at what's required.
Get out of here.
No, stay there.
Oh, you want the requirements?
Yeah, I have them here somewhere.
Here you go. I got Doug's.
You're there, right here.
It was perfect.
Okay, this is what's, no, that's not it.
Yeah, it is, that's,
Oh, okay.
I compared it to the order, it's a
Just
verbatim.
listing flow violations that here, they wouldn't know that. Bypass secondary system discharge, they wouldn't want it. The lawyers don't need that, they wouldn't know what we're talking about.
This
Actually,
workshop
state-
really goes to what I was asking for, is to define who's doing
Yeah,
what.
yeah, well, it's very easy who to do it. We
Mhm.
go through right now, map of the collection system, that's us, that's a GIS. The results of the efforts to address I&I issue, we haven't done anything yet, but what we have is a plan in place, that's
You lost
submittal.
connection?
Yeah. What's that last?
Description of the actions taken by the town to comply with the sewer connection moratorium, that's us.
I'll set up. You
A
just have
table
to-
showing development projects before the sewer commission, again, it's minimal. Everything's on hold because of moratorium, but
We have the list.
we could put it down and they have the list.
This is up and running again.
Pending approval, there's nothing pending
Yeah.
approval, there's only 320. Spreadsheet showing the balance of money available, that would be you.
Mhm.
Additional alternatives report, that's gonna be covered under the CW1P.
Yeah,
And actually, yeah, see, this, it's basically just us and Rick.
right, just pulling the information
But at least I
together.
think we get names associated so we can put,
Who's doing
things to them,
what?
okay, there they are.
We're back.
Okay, guys,
You're right,
John, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, listen, what's the likelihood of it being Monday, the meeting? I know Mondays bite for everybody, but,
I can make Monday work.
anytime around you, I'm really going through this bullet list, punch list, I don't think it's gonna take us a half hour. It's just assigning names.
All I'm looking for, given the tight timeline, is to generate traction.
Right, that's what I'm saying, I agree.
Yeah, yep.
So can we do it Monday, that way I can do it as an open meeting? The problem in open meeting, guys, is that we have to put it open, and people may wanna sit in on it, they've gotta understand there'll be no input. Okay,
It's our working session.
okay. We'll do our working session Monday.
Monday works for me.
Great.
Johnny, if you can't, right, if you can't, Thursday it will be fine. Let's see what you can pull off.
Okay, Monday will work. Well, I'm not sure if it works for you, and then everybody else can be optional.
No, okay, no, let's shoot for Monday. I prefer Monday. I believe on participation here.
Okay.
The next thing I want to go over with you guys, I got all this convolvulated here in my minutes.
Um,
My minutes for the other thing. Okay, what I want to do is let's talk about the 9 projects. The biggest thing on that is coordinated the CWMP with Wright Pierce. As I said, I heard from them yesterday that that has been approved. We're gonna tie that into a submittal. How are you making out with those other projects, or is Hans handling those?
John and I have really just been talking about the I&I study. I know Hans has been kind of wrapped up with a couple other things. We can circle back to see where he's at with, as far as the other projects are concerned.
Okay,
So we should have an update on that probably Monday morning.
okay, so you'll have that for Monday morning as well.
Yeah, we'll just touch base with Hans and see where he's at.
Okay, because what I'm going to do after this meeting, I want to go through a list of contacts, because the one thing, Rick has basically been kept out of the loop with that digester boiler, and the one thing I have no idea and he has no idea on is what's going on with the piping, quotes, what have you. So that we need to follow up on. I'll take that action item. The one thing you gentlemen have got to update us on is I need a quote from Veolia to prepare a document to go out to bid to capture that 67,500 gallons of I&I.
Right, and that's what John and I have been discussing and going through the documents looking at. So we should have something ready, in the next couple weeks.
to go out to bid.
Correct.
Is that, Charles, is that prevailing wages?
Excuse me, one moment, please, guys. We're at September 13th to 27th, that's 2 weeks. Okay, say that again, please.
Does that product have to be prevailing wages?
Sit down. I think so.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you again.
Prevailing wage.
They'll-
Does that product have to be prevailing wages?
And
What's that say?
prevailing wages.
I know, the prevailing wages are under our document, correct?
Yeah, that project would, John, that would fall under prevailing wages. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but I need a bid on that, what you're going to charge us to prepare that document based on what, an estimate to, so I can sign a purchase order.
So Mike, that's what you want on a task order, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now, under the auspices of time, we had asked to get 5 bids on that, and it never went out. So we have to the 24th to meet that requirement to have it ready. That date is kind of, you know,
Come up with the,
huh?
come up with the 5 bids.
Well, actually, it's 3 bids because it's over 10 grand
Yeah,
under
3
chapter
is fine.
30. But we don't, listen, here's where it went. I'm a firm believer in getting multiple bids on any project, any large project. We could have done it under yours, but unfortunately, we didn't know it was in that scope until I took a better look at it more in the last month or so. You could prepare that bid, we're gonna do it under yours, but I've got a price tag that I've got in my mind that I'm not gonna exceed. So I need to have a ballpark of where you think that's gonna fall. Total project. Not, what I'm saying is, you're preparing the scope of work to go out to bid to capture the INI, correct?
Right.
Or are you under the assumption that you're gonna also be doing the work?
No, just putting together the bid documents.
Okay, all I wanna know is, I want a good idea of what this bid document is gonna cost us. Before we sign it, before we go forward. I need to know, I have a price of what ACOM is gonna charge us. Okay? Realistically, I don't wanna pay more than that. So hopefully you fall in that realm. So if you can just put together your best guess price, I'm not saying stop work, but I need a best guess price of what you think that'll cost us. I have to budget it. Silence is deafening.
We were floating around the idea of, instead of being this one lump sum bid spec to encompass the whole 67 and change I&I removal program, we're gonna tackle this on one-ons. And in that, we look for some deliverables and some information requests from the town to be able to put that together. Namely, the CCTV inspection files that were done by ACOM.
All right, I could pull them together for you unless you want to do them, unless you want to grab them. No, ACOM gave us a quote to do that whole thing. I think you have a copy of it. Look that document over, that's what I'm looking for, okay? Just put me in the ballpark. We're gonna use your prevailing rate, your rates, that's fine. But what I'm looking at now, okay, it'll be the hours. I just can't issue a carte blanche. I need to have an idea of what this is gonna cost us.
Yeah, we can gauge as far as what we think it's gonna.
That's all I'm asking for. That's all I'm asking for.
Charles, to do the repair, to oversee the contractors, to get the work done, to get the 67,000 gallons, taken care of based on that report.
Right.
But I think the avenue that Paul and I were kicking around was, instead of wasting time putting construction docks out, which are typically not required when we do this work, is to assign these things to a contractor to get the work done and then do the reporting on the other end.
Well, right now, the way you're talking, pricing is nebulous, so I would like to know what I want to know a number I'm gonna be working around. Yes, I agree for you overseeing the project once we select the contractor. But I want to know what it's gonna cost me to get to that point to selecting a contractor.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we're putting together the scope, so that's an hourly rate.
Look, you got the rates, I have the rates, I need the hours to go with those rates, and give me a bottom line, and then we can go on from there and say, let's rock and roll, but this has been beaten around, through no fault of you guys, since April, internally, and I want it done. So, I don't care if we have to meet every day to pull that off, just let me know what we have to do.
Okay. In the same calendar invite for Monday, we'll probably circle back with some of the needs that we need to put that together.
You put that together, as soon as you get that in the mail to me, or email to me, I will start on them.
Okay.
It's gonna have my undivided attention. Okay, as far as somebody coming in and looking over what we have, I just went through the table, I don't see any barn burners coming in right now, so. I guess where we stand is just waiting to hear from you on what time, when and where Monday. Is there any way, is there any way you can get that to me by the end of the day tomorrow?
What is that, Charles?
A time, Chuck, the time Monday, what time Monday we'll be meeting, because I have to put that out as a posting for an open public meeting.
Immediately following this meeting, I'll send it out.
You got it. As long as I get it before Thursday at 4. Because I need 48 hours to post it. No, I need it by the end of the day tomorrow because I have to post it Thursday morning. We have to have a 48.
The date today.
Thank you, sir. Well, that's all we have, right?
Yeah.
Dan? Okay, guys, thank you very much.
All right,
Great, thanks, guys.
Yep,
Thank you.
thanks.
I'll let you guys end.
Because we don't know how to use it.
Yes, I do. I just got a lot of stuff going.
Okay. No, the main thing I don't want them to do is drag in their feet. I don't think they are. I think
We don't
they-
have time to drag our feet.
No. They just got hit with a lump sum of shit,
Yep.
of dung. I didn't say that word, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm sure they'll come through on it. Again, anything we're asking them is under our existing contract. So it'll just be a project assigned to that contract. As far as the November submittal, I'm really not worried about it. That's nickel down. What I'm really worried about is getting something out to bid for that 67,000 gallons of I&I because that is our bread and butter. But now where I was going with this before they called in was how this all transpired from Ms. Childs. And I have two people here. There was a lot of I gotta watch my language.
I know.
Said at the Board of Selectmen meeting that obviously people do not have a clue what's going on down here. I want everyone to know that, and these people are here, in April of last year, we charged the superintendent, we asked him, we had the ACOM report from September. Rick and I knew from correspondence with the EPA that they were gonna be issuing a consent order. We thought it would be July, August timeframe. To get ahead of that, we asked to have a scope of work prepared to see if ACOM would be interested in preparing a scope of work to go after that 67,500 gallons. We were told they don't do that type of work, but they would look into it. And I want you to jump in if I'm wrong, guys. In May, and this is all in public meeting, we asked again, we were told they're not interested in that work. We said we'd like to get 5 quotes. And then we turned around and we asked the superintendent, would he be, and please correct me if I'm wrong, would he be capable of writing a scope of work? And did he have the time to write that scope of work to get that work done for the 67,500 gallons? We were told yes. Now, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen has said several times, let the department heads do their job, and we did. Now, we asked him in April and May to have that ready for the July 20th meeting so we could sign it off. The July 20th meeting, did that quote? July 20th meeting, now remember we started this in April? That's the date we got the quote. And it was to prepare the scope of work, which we thought he was going to be doing. So at that point, it put the board in a very tough position that we had a submittal due in 2 weeks. Now, at the May 5th meeting with the Board of Selectmen present, Town Council, Town Administrator, Assistant Town Administrator, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, the contingent from the EPA, Mass DEP, and myself, we were talking about due dates, what have you. We didn't have any due dates at the time. I gave the EPA a proposal that included all our projects are out on the build sheet with the money we had coming in, and on the sideline, and I'll get that to you, a proposal to go after the 67,500 gallons. And I showed them that we had the money already to do that based on the AECOM quote. I did not tell them it was going to be a little bit more, but we knew we had enough to cover it. Was told that that was sufficient, put it in writing. But we let the superintendent do his thing. And all we really had to do was include that. So when that happened the 20th, naturally we were in a tizzy, didn't know what to do. So I ran out, I prepared a scope of work to go out to bid to go after that 67,500 gallons. I showed it to Dan and Sherry and Dave at a working session July 27th. Now, I did not realize town council had to look at every submission. I think all he's got to do is give it a verbal okay. He's certainly not going to add technical nonsense to it. So I sent that in, and I also sent an email to Dave that on that Saturday saying we'll have town council look at it. Once the EPA gets back and said they'd accept that or not accept it, because all I was trying, I said, if they won't accept it, this is directly to Dave Turn, can you let me know this week and I'll submit a letter of an extension? That's when the defecation hit the rotary oscillator. So with that, given the town took it upon themselves to prepare this submission, I want to ask you a question as selectmen after you were part of that rant, okay? Mr. Clifford told us in July, when I took exception as my board members not being at that meeting, that Dave Taylor was our town expert on I&I. Was zero background, but he's the expert. I want to know why, if he had since April, he could not have that submission ready, but yet in 2 hours, with Mr. Lapp and Mr. Clifford, they prepared that document with no input from the Board of Commissioners, who are the sole authorities to submit that by state charter and town charter. So that's where we stand on that. So there was a lot of nonsense going on out there about the town doing this and the board of commissioners doing this and doing that. They're clueless. All they wanted to do was throw mud. We want to work with them. If they don't want to work with us, that's their call. We have you as our liaison. But for you, you ought to give accurate report too, because you took a few unfair shots. And I don't think you attended 1, maybe 2 meetings, so you really didn't know what was going on. Hopefully you got something out of this today. Now, I also got an email from you yesterday on the AO and the phosphorus that is grossly incorrect. First of all, we're not under an AO. That's an administrative order. We are under a consent order. Administrative order was given to the town in 2007, which means We put together what we're gonna do, and we didn't do a blessed thing to it. Gave them blue smoke up their butt and did nothing. Consent order is, you know what it is now, you do it, you're gonna be fined. You also mentioned that we're a tertiary system, but what is a tertiary system?
May I speak?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. From what I gathered, it regulates the phosphorus output into French's Stream.
No. A tertiary system is any secondary process. Going to college is a tertiary process. You took on a secondary education. We treat phosphorus with chemicals. We have to look for a tertiary or a secondary option to do it because chemicals are not going to work. You also said we were historically over in phosphorus. We have never, ever been over in phosphorus since day one. So I don't know who gave you that information. I'd like to know who gave you that.
I was reading the EPA.
EPA never said we were over in phosphorus.
Okay.
What the EPA issue with phosphorus is they're mandating every single city and town in the United States to lower their phosphorus level. We have a 0.2 right now. No, excuse me. Our new limit is we have to be at 0.1 by 2026, which we're reaching now with chemicals. But the offset to chemicals is that we generate a ton of sludge and we have no place to put our sludge. So we have to look at a secondary system. You're saying you want to go September 20th and put in $500,000 for equipment. We have been working on this tertiary system since last year. Evidently the Board of Selectmen don't know that, but it's been talked about at every single meeting. They don't tell the people that. We have been doing that proactively since last year because Rick and I both knew this was coming. But to put in a secondary system, you have to do a lot of research and development on one, what is the cost? How are you going to treat it? To get down to 0.1 in phosphorus is next to impossible, but they want it. That's why they're giving you time to do it. So to say we're going to put in 500,000, I'll tell you I need 500,000 right now. I threw that number out as if I had and we were all talking, if I had to guess what it would cost, that's what it would cost, because we need a structure to house it, and we need a process that was right now unidentified. As part of the CWMP last year, it was part of that to do a bench test. The previous superintendent took that out, unbeknownst. So that came out of it. We lowered the cost, but we wanted the CWMP to go on. All this has been in process. But I don't think the Board of Selectmen are getting that message out. They're not. And I'm going to be putting together a very detailed presentation next week that they're not going to like. And I'm going to have every bit of documentation that exists out here that'll be reviewed. And I'm going to have people from the public come in and look at it. And it's not going to be pretty. But I take exception to that. These two people here have been breaking their butts. We're not getting paid to meet here once, twice a week. We're doing that to get caught up. I don't hear them chirping that. How many other boards are doing that? But they're shooting us. And here's the other thing. They wanted it to run like other departments, superintendents calling the shots. By doing that, this department lost millions. Millions.
You have that all documented?
Yeah. Well, you can tell, but the town administrator, town accountant just last November said we lost $1 million in just user fees in the last 10 years. Do you know when we last went up on development fees?
No.
2004. The development fees we've had at this department have been since 2004. I broke my butt with a lot of fighting with the last board to get them to go up in 2000. The reason they didn't want to go up is because they wanted developers to come in to fund a new police station, a new high school, a new senior center. Meanwhile, how's your drinking water taste?
No, police station, I think it was a fire station.
No, police station and fire station. I'll get to the fire station in a minute. But how does your drinking water taste? They let the infrastructure
I
go
never drink it.
so they could get their pet projects. Those days are over. And the superintendents are taking exception that we're looking at the budgets, we're looking at the numbers. You bet your life we are. We didn't know these projects were out there, yet we're supposed to sign off on them. So that I'm taking exception to. One other thing I'm gonna take exception is present company excluded. Evidently, math is not a strong point to be a selectman. Because they said we've had 4 superintendents. Have we had 4?
I think we've had 3, but one came twice, is that right?
We had one who was here since 2007, retired in 2019. He didn't quit, he wasn't fired, he wasn't driven out. He retired in 2019, asked for an extension. We gave it to him. He went out on retirement. We had an interim superintendent come in. Interim, so we hired a replacement. Never quit. We hired a replacement in May. He quit because he was on a banana peel. And we had Dave Taylor resign. So there's only been 2, not 4, that have resigned. I vented.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of unfair criticism going on up there. And I don't mind if you want to, we will be, we're an open book. We have people ask questions at every meeting. We will say anything. But Laurie, what I'm going to ask you, you get your stories right when you report it to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay. And what I
Don't go by hearsay.
would love is if everybody got together, council, board of selectmen, you guys,
Oh, she never want us, Laurie to be there, just Chuck. He
well,
was gonna be the beaten child. The stepchild.
See,
The last meeting, they just
Well-
invited me, and they wouldn't let these two, because of violation of the open meeting law. That's bull.
So, Lori, your selectmen and the other boards have the advantage of being able to sit and talk to people, or 3. If 2 of us get together, we automatically have a quorum.
I understand that.
Yeah, so we
So
have
it's
to
a
deal
tie.
with the open meeting laws.
And that's why we're having our weekly meetings, so we can communicate.
Okay.
We believe in being open, and no one wants to see this work more than I do.
Well,
The hands are
I
tied.
also believe it requires everybody being on the same page.
Yeah, it does, and evidently it's not. They have their agenda, and I'll tell you that right now. And they proved that to me with the new school, and it was admitted to me. They knew back then that we needed a $50 million, so I beat the doors to every single selectman, right? But they wanted the school. When the grant came, when the overlay district was voted down, and they were moaning about tax, I said, so why didn't you tell the people that we needed a $50 million upgrade? You know what the answer was given to me? From a member of the selectmen to my face? I'll give you the date and time. July 25th, Friday at 10:45. The board decided not to tell the voters because it would jeopardize the grant. How's that go over? Now here's where I get really confused being part of the sewer commission. One of our jobs is markouts. You want to tell me why we're doing a markout for a fire department that hasn't even met the town meeting yet? Yet we did a markout for it this week.
Well, it was voted at town meeting that a study should be done.
Study should be done. Didn't say you sewer personnel go and do a markout. Markout is when you're going to break ground. You want to know where the stubs are.
Well, I can ask and find that out.
Okay, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but this is the stuff, let's be open about it.
Yeah.
Are they gonna push a fire department for a sewer upgrade?
It's up to the townspeople.
No, all I'm asking for is a fair shot, be open and give the facts up there. We have not done anything behind closed doors. I mean, we have asked people to give input at every single meeting. But we've taken a lot of unfair beating, and that days are over. Because I'm going to come out with facts, and it is. And another thing that came out was this Primrose School always get passed on to the voters. You know the story on Primrose? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the story after this meeting because that's going to come out.
Wow.
But the taxpayers see nothing on it. The sewer department, for people who don't know, are funded solely from revenue collected from user rates and developers. They get no taxpayer money. Nothing. I've digressed. Okay, now I got that out of my system. I'm a happy clam. I had to sit back and watch it on TV. You got to taste of reality. Accounting update. Sure. Okay, no, we're gonna come up with Primrose.
So, It's the request for accounting to issue the refund is in progress. Mr. Curtis, the accountant, had asked for the approved minutes of the meeting where the board authorized that. So I gave those to Robin, and she will fill out the proper form and send it on to him.
Okay. So that people know what transpired, why a refund is being issued. They originally applied for a hearing with the Board of Sewer Commissioners on March 25th, 2021. At that time, we had older rates and we wanted to clear off all the boards, everything on the board. After they came in, we also had Dwyer Street. We had Dwyer Street, the brewery, the Monahan Rink, and one of the pot shops. They all got the rates that were applicable at that time. The reason that they didn't come before the board is because that letter was sat on for over a year. The board never received that until April 8th of 2022. So in talking with Attorney Galvin, original conversations back in late May and early June, we had agreed that there was only right that they were charged the rates that were applicable at the time when they first applied. They were misquoted much higher rates, significantly higher rates. We have raised their fees twice since I've been on board to try to break up the rates. We wanted to clear the board at the time of the moratorium before July 21st of everyone who had a project pending so they wouldn't be screwed by the moratorium. That means those rates. Primrose fell through the cracks because the plans were never delivered to this board till the year afterwards. Who knows why? So they got the older rates. I cannot see, I'm not gonna go into it, but they supplied prints, paperwork flows, everything. In 21, they should be getting the rates that are applicable at 21. That's the reason for the refund.
Okay.
You got, both of you are in agree, right?
Yes, we voted.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I have. The next working session, I guess let's schedule it for next Monday at that Zoom meeting. Now, if it's gonna be a Zoom meeting, no need for us to come down here.
Okay.
No problem. I have to fight my grandchildren.
If you can't make it for
Oh, no,
that,
I can make it.
I understand that.
All right, so Mondays.
Oh, there's one other thing we have to talk about before we go. Robin. She's on the phone. She's got stuff she needs for daily requests on how we want to handle that. I'm going to read this email into the record. They need to know how to handle certain requests that come into the department. For example, a drain layer applicant and his references need to be checked. I checked that out. And when and if he becomes a license and he's willing to do a permit, we're applying for a permit work on an existing home, we'll have to have the permit signed and have the work inspected. Those inspection drain layers is part of the contract with Suez. They can Veolia. They do that. They have been doing it in the past, so there's no difference. There's also a building permit for the building department 4 that needs review and sign off. I got to take a look and see what's required on that. Will you have a special section on the agenda to review items or requests? Will you assign a member of the board to review and sign off items? How do you want to perform inspections of connections on the field? Robin and I talked to Rick Friday on that, and they've been doing the field work, so that can continue. I think what we should do is have a weekly, well, as long as they're doing weekly sessions, maybe have Robin in to see what she needs from us.
Mm-hmm.
Or if she can reach out to me and I can reach out to one of you guys for assistance. With that said, I'll take a motion in the meeting, or if anyone's got anything else.
Motion
I'll
to
make the motion.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor, Mr. DeRoss?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
Yes.
Mr. Heston's a yes. That the meeting is over.